Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. And it is time for Not on the Pole. And I bet you almost every single one of you that are watching this are going, what the hell is Not on the Pole? So, unless you're somebody like, I don't know, Ghost Critic or something like that, who's been watching my channel since the beginning, you won't have a clue as to what that is. It's a video that I used to do back when I first started out. I was buying a lot of comics off the proverbial shelf at the time, and they weren't part of my pull list. They're just things I would try, and so I kind of review those books, just kind of something different to do, talking about them in a different way, I guess. Maybe I was talking about them in a different way. I don't know. It's been so long since I've done one. It's probably been 2.5 years or so. Right after the New 52 first started, I had quite a few that technically weren't on my pull, that I would talk about them and decide whether I was going to put them on my pull or not. Just here very recently, I went and bought a bunch of recent back issues. And when I say recent, like within a month or two, is the oldest. Most of them are just like a week or two out. For whatever reason, they interested me, heard other people talking about them, figured I better give them a try, see what else is out there. I like hearing what other people are talking about, and if it makes me curious, I should go going and exploring what those things are, because there'll be some awesome stuff out there, and I'm just missing it. So I've got a few books here that I bought this last week. I've been reading really quickly along. Apologize if I sound different or whatever. Seriously battling a head cold here, hence the tea. Trying to get some hot stuff in me today and see if I can flush out some stuff. I don't know. At any rate, so I'm going to soldier on through this as best I can, and we'll see what we come up with, right? Just to talk about some other books. Let's see here. Got my pile of books I'm going to talk about. Let's see. Let's just do this one first. Supreme. This is Supreme Blue Rose. This is issue number 2 in particular. I actually have here 3 also, and 4. I have not read 3 and 4 yet. I do like this though. See how the covers match up together? So that's pretty cool. Like the mantle she's leaned against. All characters from the story, I'm assuming in some sense she certainly is. Now, some of you may have been around when I did a review of issue number 1 of this, because this issue number 2 came out in August. So I got issue number 1, and I kind of liked it. I just wasn't sure what I thought of it. I was kind of uneasy about it. I really liked the art. The art is done by Tula Latoy. Really liked their artwork. Warren Ellis was writing it. Kind of excited by most of the Warren Ellis stuff that's coming out right now. It feels like he's kind of gotten his mojo back as far as writing comic books and having something interesting to say or whatever. So, and this book, I think, falls under that line of thinking that there's something interesting going on here. So I can't 100% tell you what's going on in the story, because it's just kind of absolutely bonkers. Bonkers is the wrong word. Bonkers is a Graham book. It's just really interesting. It's another book that suddenly feels to me like getting into issue number 2. Like I said, I haven't read the other 2 issues yet. I'll have more of an opinion after I read those, and maybe I'll come back and talk to him about then. But it has some Philip K. Dickian type stuff going on in it. It's all kind of a head trip. I'm not 100% sure what's grounded in reality and what's somebody's hallucination and what's somebody's orbital mind laser blasting somebody and feeding them some strange information in it. There's all these different settings going on. This old man writer here, whose name is what is his name? Let me think here. It's like Storybook Smith is his name. That's what he goes by. And he's having this conversation with this woman who keeps reoccurring throughout his life in a million bars and a million places, and keeps telling him that he can rewrite these stories and whatnot. All interesting, kind of hinged off of some sort of a metaverse is going on with that. And then you have our what seems to be main character, a writer who's been hired to go off into New England someplace and investigate this town that could or maybe doesn't exist. And then we have some like a scientist woman who's doing some heavy scientific lifting as far as quantum physics go, and reality, and what if there's an equation and the future's already been seen and it's folding back on itself like a giant loom, and she kind of ventures off into stuff. The art in it is, like I said, is absolutely amazing. Like, it kind of feels like it's, to some degree, it's worth it just for that. But yeah, reading issue number 2, I'm definitely kind of really excited about the book again. Wonky Ninjas talked about it, says he loves it. That's kind of why I decided I needed to go back and look at it again. That first issue, I did kind of like it. It was strange, and I think what happened was it was at a time when it felt like, man, I was buying a lot of new comics, and so I ordered number 1 and then kind of forgot about ordering number 2. And then once when number 2 went by, then I just thought, well, I'm done. I'm not going to be able to get it or whatever. And like I said, I'd be at the local chain store. The book was in. All the issues were there, besides number 1, which I already had. So I figured I'd pick it up. I really like it. I'm excited to, like I said, to read those other 2 issues. I'll get back to everybody then. I have a feeling this will end up going on my poll just because it's strange. Other than Wonky Ninja, I don't really hear anybody else talking about the book. That maybe it's because I've missed the videos where other people are talking about it. But yeah, it's cool. It's kind of an interesting, head trip. It's not conventionally straightforward in its storytelling, and it's one of those books you kind of have to read and just take in what's there. At least for me, anyway. Take in what's there and see how the pieces all fit together, how the different stories that are all whirling along this, how they all end up merging together and whatnot. But that's pretty cool. So thank you, Wonky Ninja, for continuing to talk about it, to get me somewhat interested in picking it back up again. Next up, this one will surprise a lot of people. Deadpool, Art of War. Seems like most people hear me picking on issues 1 and 2. I believe issue 2 came out last week from when I'm recording this. Saw Wednesday Serial talking about this, about the idea of Deadpool basically somehow he's back in time, and he takes out the guy who wrote the book The Art of War, which of course a lot of us anyway, know of the book. It's been used a lot. They even touch on it in the first issue of this, about the fact that people have used it for business and interpersonal relationships and all kinds of stuff beyond what the original use of it was this is how you commit warfare on others to be the superior warrior in general. So in this, Deadpool, kills that guy off, has all these scripts, decides, heck, I'm gonna take these, I'm gonna get them published. Takes them to a publicist, and the publicist basically goes, are you nuts? Explains the fact that there's all these versions out there. Give me a different take on this. Why would I publish this? And Deadpool comes up with the idea that he will start a massive war, so everybody will need the Art of War book to defend themselves and to win, ultimately. That's this thing. So he ponders how he's going to create some sort of massive war that would make people desperate enough to buy his book. And he decides gods would be a great way to start that out. Get the gods going against each other and start a big battle, and that'll be perfect. So he picks on the Asgardians. He hooks up with Loki, which is some pretty fun stuff in there. Gets Loki on the warpath and wipes out Thor and takes over Asgard, and then convinces him to go down to Midgard, go down to Earth, and take over the whatnot. Has some of the typical stuff about Deadpool that I'm not always really keen on. But he doesn't talk to us, the audience, quite so much. There's not quite as much fourth wall busting here, or it doesn't feel like it. This seems like a kind of a smarter book. I mean, he's kind of taking it to the gods and their pomp and their circumstance and whatnot. I like that that he's kind of messing with them in a sense, and I'm enjoying that. So I don't know how many issues the Deadpool Art of War is. Picked up these 2 issues. I did enjoy them. Found them much more fun than your typical Deadpool book. The art in it is it's written by Peter David. The art is by Scott Kolbish. Color is by Val Staples, and yeah, the art is not, I don't know, wouldn't consider it conventional. Wouldn't consider it conventional Marvel type art, but I'm really enjoying it. Here he's going through the different Lokis along the way. Kid Loki, which they blame on Matt Fraction, actually says that. It's kind of funny. That's one of those breaking the fourth wall things that actually I thought worked. They end up with the evil Loki, the old school evil Loki, is the Loki he hooks up with. But yeah, some relatively cool art in it, and I don't know. It seems smarter than your typical Deadpool Deadpool book, so I'm liking it. I'm liking it for that. So there is that. And that I will thank Matt, Wednesday Serial mostly. He's the big Deadpool guy. I heard him talking about it. I know some other people keep showing up in their videos too. Like T-Bird, it shows up in hers. I'm trying to think who else. Can't remember who else videos I've seen it in. I've seen a couple different people's, but mostly Matt, Wednesday Serial, for talking about it. Kind of got me interested in the idea of him trying to sell this book to like Thor, for instance, which I think is pretty funny, to sell Thor a Art of War book. I need a drink real quick here. I feel like I'm dying. So excuse me for that. So yeah, next I picked up Birthright, issue 1, and issue 2. Issue 2 just came out like last week, I think also. I didn't get this book initially because I thought, well, it's going to be typical urban fantasy or something like that, or it's this little boy lost, or I don't know. It just didn't really seem like it was going to appeal to me. So I gave it a miss. Keep hearing people talk about great things about it, so I thought, well, what the heck? I'll pick it up. Ton of people. John DeCoste talking about how great this is. Sleepy Reader 666 talking about how great this is. So I thought, I better, I'm gonna pick this up and check it out, because both issues were there. So it works. So I read the first issue. The first issue is really cool. Gives us this great introduction to the character, the situation, what happened. Shows the collapse of this family as this little boy has disappeared. They blame the father who was out with the little boy in the park, that maybe he murdered him, all the kind of somewhat typical kind of things you might think might happen on a child disappearance case where they just have zero clues as to what's happened. We get the introduction to, Mikey, basically the kid. We see from his vantage point what happened to him, some of the stuff that happens to him, is he's picked up to be this great hero. And then he suddenly shows back up again as this kind of, awesome, young-looking Conan type of a guy. And he's pretty awesome looking. I mean, there he is. I think he's pretty cool looking. He looks like a stud. The artwork in this is amazing pants, right off the bat. It's absolutely fabulous. The coloring is perfect. The amount of line work that's in it is grand. It's exciting. The fantasy world really sticks out as kind of its own kind of unique kind of a thing, to some degree, but hits enough of the standard tropes to quickly immerse you in the fact, it's high fantasy. You have these winged folk people and trolls and giants and all that kind of stuff. There's a great, half splash page of him talking about his world and stuff, which was all really interesting. great story, descriptive story about the fact that most of the family just can't accept the fact that this great warrior that they found with all these weapons and all this craziness is Mikey, because of course it's been a year and he went from being like some little kid who was, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 to this person in his 20s at least, massive warrior dude, and this doesn't make any sense to most of them, and so they're not accepting that dad, who is now a drop down drunk because his entire life has been pulled apart and whatnot, as he's continuously blamed to be the person who killed Mikey, made him disappear, but they can't prove it, but his whole life is wrecked. He almost instantaneously recognizes that clearly it's Mikey. The father knows his son, kind of thing. Well, really interesting. And at the very end of this, there's kind of a twist. There's a definite plot twist. This whole build up, he's come back supposedly to Earth. There's a few of these things left he has to defeat to make sure Earth stays safe and everything. And there's a big whammy at the end of it. Okay, this issue was interesting. I really liked it. It was cool and whatnot. Getting to read 2 issues in a row was really sweet, because I tell you, this issue actually got me more excited. Some people talk about this maybe wasn't as exciting issue. For me, this was actually way more exciting, as Mikey has a conversation with his older brother, who clearly is younger than him now. There's some recognition there through some conversations of some scars that Mikey has that no one knows how to get those scars except for his older brother. So it kind of makes a confirmation kind of thing there. And Mikey decides he's leaving the PlayStation, and I just was really amped and excited, and thought it was really exciting, him kind of storming out of the, or attempting to storm out of the police station. He has the police try tasering him, and he just catches the taser, darts in the air, jerks the guy off his feet, and kind of clobbers him, smashes another guy up through the lights and whatnot, as he heads off to get his tools of the trade to, of course, defeat this evil stuff that he's supposed to defeat and whatnot. I mean, there's this great scene of him throwing the policeman up into the lights, just smashing the crap out of these guys to get to his tools of the trade. Here's another awesome, exciting picture of him busting his chains. Just incredible dynamic. The coloring is wonderful, because most of the time when they're in the police station, it's all these cool dark blue lights, and wonderful snowy scenes of him as a kid, because we keep getting this flashbacks to when he first went to this other realm. And I'm really curious to see how the whole thing works itself out, because it looks really exciting. Looks really exciting. It looks like it's gonna be some awesome fun. So excited for that. So should be some great stuff. Definitely going on my poll. I'm going to have to pick up a few issues, I think, in between, but definitely going to put it on my poll, because I'm excited for that. Another book that came out last week, Tooth and Claw. Kurt Busiek. What's Dewey? Benjamin Dewey is the artist, and Jody Valeri does colors. The strong points in this is certainly the art. The great coloring and the art that's in this. And I'm fighting off a sneeze, just to let you know. So if I suddenly sneeze, I apologize. Wonderful art. All these animal, humanoid creatures here and stuff. Just some great art as far as that goes. There's another book I didn't pick up. I don't know. I'm just kind of... Somewhere in my head says fantasy. I'm like, oh, I don't know. So I didn't get this one. Great dollar value, $2.99. There's almost like 50 pages worth of complete story and art in it. And basic premise is a world where magic is fading, and some people attempt to do some stuff to keep that magic from fading by reaching back into the past and grabbing this hero from the past that helped bring about the magic age in the first place, and an attempt to drag them forward to the future so they can do whatever they did again to save the day, so they can go back to having their magic and stuff. There's a lot of typical high fantasy tropes in this. To me, it feels like you've got these kind of snotty, superior mage-ish kind of people who live up in high cities floating in the clouds, and you've got the lonely grunts that work and do all the slaving and stuff like that. I didn't really care for that part of the story. As a whole, this didn't really grab me all that much. Maybe because as a kid I read lots and lots of fantasy and played lots of role-playing games that were set in fantasy realms and whatnot. It feels to me like, to a large degree, a large chunk of the fantasy world has been so heavily explored inside my head that it's going to take a lot to show me something different. Not to take away from this book. Excellent book. Well written. Interesting as far as, the way that, all these anamorphic people that are in it and stuff is all really interesting. That part's all cool. But I don't know, to me personally, interesting enough for me to actually continue to collect it. Like I said, I didn't not enjoy it. I just don't, there's nothing there that really hooks me and says something special is going to be in here. Other than the art. I mean, the art is really good. But I don't think I want to get it just for the art. Because now that I've seen all of these people, I don't know what they're going to show me, what they would show me that would be anything different from that. And if you like high fantasy, if you like your your Lord of the Rings and your Moorcock books and that sort of thing, awesome book. Pick it up. Especially the first issue. It's well worth your dollars, I think. But not for me. Just like I said, I think I've just explored too much of that in my head. Whereas I can read lots and lots and lots of science fiction comic books still. I don't know that I can read a lot of fantasy ones. And Birthright clearly has a lot of fantasy stuff to it. It's kind of urban fantasy, though, it feels like, because now we're back in kind of the current world. Well, we're going to have some fantasy stuff in it, plus we're going to have some current world type things and them kind of meshing together in some sense or another. So that I'm interested in enough. It is engaging and high energy enough that's interesting. This wasn't so much that way. This to me read like an old school fantasy story, and if I'm going to do fantasy, it's got to have something vibrant, really vibrant about it, and to me, this didn't. Like I said, I'm not really knocking it. It's just not my cup of tea. But I tried that out because, of course, last week everybody was talking about it. Even those of us who didn't get it were talking about it, because those of us who didn't get it were going, "Oh crap, I probably should have got that." And everybody else who did get it thought it was awesome. I don't know anybody who got it and said, "I hate this." And certainly, it's a good piece of work for what it is. It's just not my cup of tea. And then finally, I went back and I got Hobgoblin issue number 1. I picked this up because a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, no, a month ago, because this week number 2 came out. I don't have number 2 yet. I have to go and get it at the chain store. Comics to Comics, or Mr. CDC AMP, as some people know him. He was talking about this book, about how it was really fun. Basically, the premise is the Hobgoblin has decided that he's not making any money anymore as a villain. It's a little difficult. So instead, he is going the route of being a hero. He is selling, because the man behind the mask is a fashion and image person. That's his PR. That's what he does. He is now selling the idea of being a hero. And he has a bunch of DVDs, a bunch of books that he's selling to pitch, the ultimate being this hero kind of thing. It's basically a kind of a self-help, DIY, do-it-yourself hero kit kind of a thing. And he'll sell you each of the steps for X amount of money, and that's how he's making millions of dollars right now. Of course, he's still wanted at the same time. It's got the Axis thing tied on there. Really, I think the only tie to Axis is the fact that clearly with the Axis is being messed with, he's hero instead of villain, I'm guessing. I don't know what else it has to do with the Axis books. I'm not reading the Axis books, and I didn't need it to enjoy this. The only part in here that was somewhat confusing for me, and maybe somebody can square that away. I'm not familiar with all the extra, this other goblin, the Goblin King character. I'm not really familiar with him to know what that's about. And there was also a female Lily Holster, who was a goblin also at some point. I'm not familiar with her. She loses her goblinness, and it ends up being not remembering who she is. I don't know per se who that is. So that part's a little confusing, but otherwise it's really fun. I mean, here he is, working the crowd, getting these, not even D-lister hero types, getting them all wound up and getting them all excited to buy his products to become the next great thing as far as heroes go and whatnot. But I love the idea of it. It's a great idea. It's executed well, at least in this first issue. Looking forward to we're hearing what some people say about the second issue. I'm probably going to get it because, like I said, I really enjoyed this one. Kevin Schnick's writing it. Javier Rodriguez is pencils and colors on it. Avalon Lopez does the inking. But it was fun. It was fun. I love the whole idea of it. Him selling his, and there he is selling his DVD set. This is the next thing to pick up, and here we're rushing to go and buy it. Buy all his products. I think it's 3 issues. Just some fun. So a Marvel book that was kind of a kick. I can't put it on my pull list per se because of the way I do my ordering, but picking up my drink again, sorry. But I will probably hit the chain store. It's a Marvel book, and the chain store seems to do a pretty decent job of bringing in most of the Marvel books. So I will pick it up from the chain store periodically. Haven't gotten there this week to pick up the latest edition of Hobgoblin, but I will get that just to see what happens because it's kind of fun. It has kind of the same flavor that Superior Foes of Spider-Man has, if you've been liking that, and just the fact they've taken a villain and kind of tilted the perspective on him just a little bit and give it a little bit of a tongue-in-cheekness to it, and it's just been fun. So yeah, that's not a pull. Books that I don't have on my pull list, I don't regularly pull them, that I've kind of explored, and what I think. As a whole, pretty awesome, and no turkeys. I mean, I'm not upset with any of the books I bought. I don't feel fooled or tricked into having purchased them. I don't feel like I have to hunt down some YouTuber and give them what for steering me wrong. Like I said, I've enjoyed them all. The only one I'm not going to really, continue with is Tooth and Claw. Just isn't my kind of thing, but still an excellent book. If you like that style of stuff, I would recommend it. If you like fantasy, if fantasy can't go wrong for you, pick it up. Otherwise, yeah, that's it. Have a great one, everybody, and I'll see you later on in the week with the videos, I'm sure. Have a good one.